Today, we're going to unlock a secret language your body uses every single day to tell you how it's doing. Now, this is a practice with really ancient roots, but you'll be surprised at just how much it has to say about our modern, hectic lives. So yeah, let's get right into it. I mean, just imagine this for a second. What if, instead of just guessing how you're really doing on the inside, your body had its own dashboard? You know, a built-in status report you could check every single morning. Well, according to the principles of traditional Chinese medicine, it actually does. And that status report, it's your tongue. The whole idea is that the tongue gives you a direct, unfiltered look at your internal health. It reflects the balance of your core systems without your own biases getting in the way. And that right there brings us to a really crucial philosophy behind this whole practice. This quote is a big deal in the source material. See, it's not about finding something and then immediately trying to fix it. It's about learning to just observe, to understand the subtle shifts and messages your body is sending you. Okay, so let's dive into our first section here, the tongue's secret language. What is it that makes this one organ such a reliable, kind of unique mirror of our internal world? So what's the logic here? Well, first off, looking at the tongue is considered way more direct than waiting for symptoms, which, can be super vague. It's also less subjective than just asking, so how do you feel? Because let's be honest, how many times have we just said, I'm fine, even when we're not? Most importantly, it's believed to directly reflect the state of our internal organs. And this is the real kicker, changes can show up on the tongue before any major symptoms do. It acts as a kind of early warning system. All right, let's move on and see how all this stuff builds into a framework you can actually use. I want you to start thinking of your tongue not just as, well, a tongue, but as a detailed map of your body's internal landscape. This slide lays out the concept perfectly. In this system, different zones of your tongue correspond to different organ networks. For example, the very tip is linked to what's called the heart and mind, which in this context really reflects our mental and emotional state, things like stress and sleep. The middle part, that's your spleen and stomach, basically your digestive command center. The sides relate to the liver and gallbladder, which are tied to emotional flow. And the root, way at the back of the tongue, reflects our deeper energy reserves, linked to the kidneys and intestines. So with that map in mind, let's get into the most practical clues for any beginner, the color of the tongue itself and the nature of its coating. This, right here, is where the story of your internal health really starts to take shape. Let's kick things off with color. This is a simple but really powerful contrast. On one hand, a pale tongue suggests a state of deficiency or decline. The message is pretty clear. Your body's energy and resources might be running low on fuel. On the other hand, a distinctly red tongue suggests a state of what's called heat or consumption. You can think of this like your body's engine running way too hot. It could be a sign of inflammation or that your system is just burning through its resources way too fast, often because of stress or exhaustion. Next up is the coating. If you see a thick coating, that's seen as a sign of buildup or an excess pattern. It's basically telling you that something is accumulating. Maybe your digestive system is a little backed up, or there's excess fluid, which is sometimes called dampness. But if you see a very thin coating, or even no coating at all, that suggests depletion or a deficiency pattern. This could mean the body's vital energy or fluids just aren't sufficient to create that healthy, protective layer. So how does this ancient map actually apply to our crazy 21st century lives? Well, let's take a look at how the footprints of modern life can show up right there on our tongues. The thinking here really hones in on three huge stressors that leave visible marks on our internal health. First, long-term late nights. Second, an unbalanced diet. And third, emotional imbalance, which is really just a way of describing the physical impact of chronic stress and constant pressure. Okay, to make all this feel a bit more real, let's combine what we've learned and analyze a very common pattern, one that I think a lot of us can probably relate to, the stressed professional. So what's the story here? The cause is pretty obvious, chronic late nights and high pressure. This can lead to two classic signs. First, a red tip on the tongue. And if you remember our map, the tip is the heart zone. And this redness suggests heart fire. Think of it as mental or emotional burnout from stress. Second, you might see teeth marks on the sides of the tongue. This can be a sign that the tongue is a little swollen, which is often linked to spleen deficiency, meaning your digestive system is just weakened from fatigue. So what's the combined message? Your system is running hot from all the stress, but at the same time, it's low on fuel from exhaustion. It's that classic tired but wired feeling. Sound familiar? All right, let's look at one more common scenario, this time focusing more on our dietary habits. We can call this one the overloaded system. Here, the cause is pretty straightforward, an unbalanced or consistently heavy diet. And the sign? A thick, maybe even greasy-looking coating, especially in the middle of the tongue. Now, if we remember our map again, the middle is the digestive zone. So what this tongue is telling us is pretty darn clear. The digestive system is totally overloaded and it's struggling to process everything. It's basically screaming for a break. So now we get to the most important part. How do we turn all this knowledge into a practical tool for self-awareness? And let's be really clear, this is not about becoming your own doctor. It's about becoming a better listener to your own body. And this is a point that gets emphasized again and again. The goal is not to self-diagnose. It's to become aware of your body's direction of travel, noticing these subtle shifts and tendencies before they become big problems. Are you trending towards that heat or deficiency, towards accumulation or depletion? That's the real insight. So how do you actually start? It's incredibly simple. Do it in the morning before you eat, drink, or brush your teeth. That's when you get the most accurate picture. If you can, use natural light. Then just gently stick out your tongue. Don't strain it, just relax it for a few seconds. And maybe the most important tip, look for patterns and changes over time, not just what you see on one single day. And here we are, full circle, right back to where we started with this central idea. By taking just a moment each day to simply observe, you're engaging in a really powerful form of self-care. You're gathering information before you jump to any conclusions or try to fix anything. At the end of the day, you can think of it like this. Your tongue might just be your most honest health advisor. It doesn't care about your deadlines or your excuses. It just reflects what's really going on inside. And that leaves us with one final question to take away with you. After everything we've talked about, what is your tongue trying to tell you today? And of course, just a quick and important reminder, this explainer is for cultural learning and reference purposes only. It is absolutely not medical advice. For any specific health concerns you might have, please be sure to consult a qualified professional. Thanks so much for tuning in.